Good evening. Happy Easter. Happy Divine Mercy Sunday. So it's very fitting that we have our confirmation candidates here who are about to be confirmed in a few weeks, because I'd just like to share a little bit of an experience that I had with one of our confirmation groups a few years back. We were in the midst of the restrictions from the pandemic, and as these young people know very well, we have a requirement in our confirmation program where we ask them to perform works of mercy, service hours for people in need. And it was very difficult during the pandemic restrictions to have any type of personal interactions, face-to-face. And yet there was one ministry in town here that's still going strong. It's Families for Families, right in Wyckoff, and they do some great work. And what happened was, I came to a session just like we were tonight, and there was one candidate and his father that just couldn't wait to come and tell me about their experience with the works of mercy. And so I asked, tell me, what happened? And he said, well, my son and I signed up. We saw that we could go and we could move furniture for the day on a Saturday. Now, I've moved couches and dressers in my life, and I've never been excited to tell anybody about it. So I was really curious to hear what happened. And so what they did, they told me they went down to the warehouse, they loaded up a dresser and a bed and a couple other pieces of furniture into the truck, and the truck drove down to Patterson, in kind of a rough neighborhood. And as the father and son, they pulled the dresser out and they were struggling and sweating to get it up the stairs. They finally came to the apartment door where they were headed, and this young lady opened the door, and she just happened to be a single mom with two small ones. And this was her first place. She had just gotten a job. She was just kind of getting on her feet. And when she saw my friend and his son, she just broke down. She was so thankful that these two strangers had decided to go out of their way to furnish her place and make her little apartment a real home for her and her children. And she was overwhelmed with thankfulness. And so, as you can imagine, they were overwhelmed by that reaction that they got, and it really moved them because they were so excited to come back here and tell me what happened, and I really just have carried that with me ever since, and it's been several years now. And I don't know how each of you, our candidates, have done with your works of mercy this year, but I really only hope and pray that you had an experience similar to that. But if you haven't, it's okay, because through our baptisms, we are called to be agents of mercy. So we are called to bring that divine mercy out to our brothers and sisters in need. Now, the first thing that I think of when mercy kind of comes up is I think of forgiveness. But there's another part of mercy, and that's compassion. And I'd like to focus on the compassion part for this homily. You see, mercy, whether it's forgiveness or compassion, it's a reciprocal relationship, right? There is a giver of mercy, and then there is a receiver of mercy. And no matter where you and I are in our lives at different times and in different situations that we find ourselves in, we could be on either side of that equation. Never mind the fact that we are all in need of divine mercy all the time. We are in need of it, but we have access to it all the time. But we're also called to bring that divine mercy to others. So in our responsorial psalm tonight, I don't know if you caught this, it's Psalm 118. There's a verse in that psalm that says, "His mercy endures forever. I was hard-pressed and fallen, and the Lord saved me." You see, this psalm was written during the time of King David and the Israelites, and they had just returned from a very hard-fought battle, and they really came out by the skin of their teeth. But it was such a joyful victory that they came all the way back to Jerusalem singing and dancing the Lord's praises right into the temple. And this psalm was written, and it was a part of their liturgy. And so those words, "His mercy endures forever. I was hard-pressed and fallen." You know, maybe some of you are not old enough to get there yet, but when you get to a certain age, You will certainly have times in your life where you are hard-pressed and fallen. And we all can turn to Him for the divine mercy. It's always available to us. So what does Jesus have to say about mercy? So if we go to our Beatitudes, right, we all know this, right? We went over this? You can nod, it's okay, all right? The Sermon on the Mount, right? Jesus said, "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy." See that? Reciprocal is coming back, right? And then today, I just noticed this morning as I was coming in, our food ministry truck outside, which was beautifully decorated and new decals and everything, it's got a verse from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 25, and it goes right to the heart of the works of mercy, right? This is the criteria that Jesus gives us for the last judgment, is how merciful are we? And what can we do to be merciful, to be agents of that mercy? We know them, right? Feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, clothe the naked, shelter the homeless, visit the sick, visit the imprisoned, bury the dead. These are marching orders for us as baptized Christians. This is what we are called to do. So if you haven't had that experience during your confirmation preparation, you're called to do this through your baptism. So we should all be making this a part of our lives as Catholics, as Christians. This is a part of what we're called to do. And so every year on Divine Mercy Sunday, this second Sunday of the Easter season, I kind of learned something new about Divine Mercy Sunday and St. Faustina. All right? And so for those of you that aren't familiar with St. Faustina, Sister Faustina, she's a Polish religious sister, and she had a revelation from Jesus, and Jesus revealed His message of divine mercy to her. And she wound up writing a diary with all the messages that she received from Jesus. And so I'd like to just read one to you that really kind of strikes a chord with this homily. This is Jesus speaking to St. Faustina. It's entry 742 in her diary. "I require you to make acts of mercy which are to come from your love for me. You are always and everywhere to show mercy unto your neighbors. You may not withdraw, excuse, or absolve yourself from this. I am giving you 3 ways of performing mercy to your neighbors. First, by deed. Second, by word. And third, by prayer. These 3 levels cover the full scope of mercy, and it is unshakable evidence that a soul loves me. This is how the soul praises and honors my mercy." Okay, so we're ready, right? We have feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, right? We have our works of mercy, and now we have 3 easy ways to carry those out, or 3 easy ways to remember, right? By deed. So to my confirmation candidates, right, we're asking you to go out and perform acts of mercy, right, to relieve suffering in our brothers and sisters, right? You are agents of mercy. The second, if you're not able to pick up that dresser and get up the stairs, okay, Jesus gives us another option, by word, right? How many of us, we don't have to go to Patterson to find our brothers and sisters that are in need, right? We don't have to go far. I know we could probably just walk across the street or walk next door, right? We can find a neighbor that maybe lost their spouse recently, that's lonely, right? Or another neighbor that lost their job and they're really in despair and going through a hard time. Maybe they just need a phone call. So regardless of whether we're carrying dressers or making phone calls, that third way is one way that we should all be praying for one another, constantly praying for one another. When someone says, "How are you doing?" and you get an honest answer, "I'm having a tough time right now," we should be telling them, "I'm going to pray for you," and we should follow through on that. All right? So in closing, for my confirmation candidates, there will be a test in our session after this. That was a joke. I'm sorry. But in closing, I wish you all a blessed Divine Mercy Sunday. And again, if there's any way that you'd like to get involved with any of our ministries here at St. Elizabeth's, we have 60+ ministries, a number of ways to be involved. And we really have just a wonderful, generous parish here. And I thank you for that, and I look forward to working in the vineyard with you. God bless.